For me, the thing that helped me the most in working on my dissertation was learning how I need to write my dissertation and knowing that that might be way different than how Scott writes his dissertation, right? So some of the advice that a lot of people gave me, again, working with a lot of PhDs, they all gave me advice, and a lot of people said, write every day. Well, I found for me that doesn't work because it takes me time to get into it and then time to start writing. And then now I've been thinking about it and it's hard for me to wind myself down. So rather than that, I need to block off big pieces of time for myself. I need to go to a specific place to work, and I don't do well. There's places that I work well and there's places that I don't work well. So on and on and on. But I think that it's very different for every person, and write every day has worked well for a lot of people. It does not work well for me.
So some people told me that the dissertation was like the hardest part and that the fun part was taking classes. I actually thought that the dissertation process was easier for me. I thought it was pretty smooth sailing because by the time I got to research residency and comps, I really had narrowly defined what I wanted to do for my dissertation. So at that point, it just seemed to flow. And I enjoyed the process, and I think I got just so much great feedback from my committee that it really just made everything smooth for me. And I'm so grateful to have such a great committee. So I would say dissertation was easier. For me, it was comps was the hardest part, just because I get in my head about the time it takes and the writing and just all of that pressure. And I guess I didn't feel that as much with the dissertation. So I would say just pick your committee carefully and good luck.
For me, it's the network. So I have a network of people I reach out to at ODU that we went through coursework. Because of the pandemic, we got spread out a lot. But then I also have a network of colleagues through AECT, which is an association for IDs. And a lot of us are kind of at the same point. And so we're helping each other. I work really well with a shut up and write, where I'm being held accountable, where someone's sitting in, I don't know if you've heard of this, but you get on a Zoom and you set goals, and then you you mute yourself, turn off your camera, and you work, and then you check in every 30, 45 minutes, hour to see did you meet your goals? You just meet as long as you can meet, and it just helps you stay accountable, where the kitchen's right there, and Netflix can all of a sudden turn itself on, and you're not working, where someone's on there and you have to then tell them. That works really well for me as well. I'm still writing, so it's still trying to finish, but yeah, that's worked well.
I guess, yeah, so Brian, I agree. And Irene, everybody's got a writing process. So understanding how you write into that, the dissertation is fundamentally different. You're going to get a lot more feedback from your committee, particularly your committee chair. So you have to, I don't know what the word, I'm vocabulary deficient today, but so I'm kind of I like to write. I have a hard time often getting started, and I've always been that way. It's like molasses to get the first two sentences out, but then when I get going, I like the writing. I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed the dissertation process. I really did. But at the same time, you're getting feedback, and so you have to sort of step away from yourself. At least I did, because you have all this great stuff you've written, and they're like, nah. Oh, yeah, right. So just understanding that your committee is helping you focus, and that was what it was for me, right? So there was things that they weren't saying that your writing is, they're not going to say that that your writing is bad or that your ideas are not good. It's just like you've got to focus, and that's part of their role too. And so that was really helpful. I know that I had a couple of gaps, and that may happen to you. Like I had a couple of life events, things happen, and I had to step away during the dissertation process. But I think so. Understand how you write, but whatever your style is, and I was guilty, but don't let your style, just like the myth of learning styles, don't let your writing style become your excuse for not working on it. Because on the couple of occasions where I had to step away for life events, that getting back in, like getting all those thoughts, getting the whole thing, like you're up to chapter 4 or 5 or however yours is, like you've got it all up here and it's all working, right? You've got where all the pieces are at, and then you step away for 3 or 4 months, and then you've got to reconstruct that mental model of where you're going with it. So just don't let what you think is your style become an excuse for not working on it. Stay in touch with your committee chair and let them know what's going on.
It's tremendously impressive and exceptional that Scott was able to take those breaks and get back into it, because just about everybody I know who didn't finish, that was their story, was, I have a legit break. Like, I mean, for me, I had 2 kids during the process, right? We had 2 kids as a family, right? So like, those were like legit excuses that I could have stepped away, and I probably wouldn't have finished if I would have, because it's a tremendously difficult thing to do that. So it's exceptional for Scott to be able to pick that up. The other thing that I want to say, different from writing style, was it's really helpful to find some good dissertations, good ODU, IDT dissertations, and model, if you're doing quantitative, find some good quantitative studies or qualitative or whatever you're doing that's as close to what you're doing as possible. And the faculty have already worked with, especially if you can find one, like Dr. Lua is my dissertation advisor, so she was shared with me some really good ones, and I was able to mine those and say like, oh, well, they talked about this thing or that thing, and it helped me to identify some areas and things that I can do that were better.
I was going to hit on really quick, like the chunks of time and when to work, and then even starting back. I've had to take a few weeks off here and there. And one place that works for me in starting back is to do something that's low cognitive. Like Scott was telling, it's all in our brain. It's all like sloshing around up there. And a lot of things I like to, when I have graduate students that I work with, and I like to say, like, there's high time, high cognitive tasks. There's high cognitive, low time tasks. And then there's also like these like low cognitive, high time tasks, where you can like turn on Netflix, let it binge, and you're creating a table with like, where you're literally just copying and pasting stuff over, or you're creating references, or you're pulling them from Zotero or whatever. Like there's a lot of things you can do that don't take a lot of brain thought. Like you're not reading, you're not constructing, you're just like creating tables, or, doing the data analysis on the back end. Like quantitative analysis for me is very basic. Like it's just frequencies and certain, depending on what it is. The other thing that has really helped me, and I love to check things off, and I'm just going to show you the craziness. I've taken my dissertation. I know this is really tiny. I took it and I chunked it into every little section so that when I'm working on it, I can scratch it off. And 881, the dissertation seminar course, helped me kind of figure out what all those little pieces are. So if you're like, what are they? Don't worry about it right now. But that's really helped me, where like, I can scratch off every single piece. So even if I finish one thing tonight, I can like scratch it off and I'm like, okay, I feel better about that. Like I feel like I'm progressing, and this list used to be this entire page, and now it's just like this much, and that's all that's left. So it's like really nice to see like it shrink down.
Also say, take advantage of your committee. Like they're there to see you succeed, right? So I got a couple pieces of feedback during my proposal stage, that I wanted to make sure I fully addressed. And I reached out to the like, it doesn't have to be, ready to defend, here's my defense. I reached out to my committee members that had those comments, and I was like, hey, I wanted to address that comment. Is this section looking better based off of your feedback? And they were happy to listen and give me more feedback and help make sure that I was really ready for my defense. So the proposal process, I felt the proposal process was harder than the dissertation defense, because it's like your first time actually like presenting those ideas, and then you live with them for a very long time, and then you're like the expert, so you're coming to your committee and you're the one that knows what you're talking about. So the dissertation felt like a cherry on top, whereas the proposal felt like this is where I'm getting a lot of the feedback that's going to shape the next year and a half of my life. And so you really need to be prepared for critiques, but those critiques are meant to be to strengthen what you're working on.